Welcome back to day one of the QPL World Championship. I'm DJ Wheat, joined again by Ketchup and Flea. Welcome back. I know you've been making the tour around the various streams, and we've got another great matchup coming at you. But let's take a quick pause here for a moment. Favorite match that you've seen today in day one? Flea, I'll start with you.
Oh man, there's already been some really good highlights. I think Base versus Chain was an incredible series. That's probably going to be one of my main ones, although I really liked casting Hron versus Sparty. It's probably the favorite one that I've casted so far, but there have been a lot of hype matches.
I feel like a lot of our relegation matches share that similar kind of fate. We've had some close exchanges, and with what's on the line, or what was on the line, I guess is more accurate now. I feel like the match with Garpy was one of my favorites, the very first, because it was just so intense considering we've only just started the show. But now, RAISY and dramiS going head to head. RAISY's going into this one as the favorite, let's be realistic here, but dramiS, having recovered from injury, kind of near the end stage of this stage, has kind of looked better than ever. And I think that downtime he had no choice but to undertake has kind of reinvigorated him. If you follow on social media, he's in extremely high spirits, he's playing well, he's practicing a lot, and it's kind of inspirational, to be honest.
It really is. I was in his Twitch stream a few days ago, and I congratulated him on his performance and wished him good luck. And he was just like talking about confidence is key, is what he said, right? He was talking about how good he's been feeling and how he's ready to take on the finals now. And I believe his organization even tweeted out that dramiS is aiming for the first place, doesn't want to settle for anything less. So a lot of confidence, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, don't underestimate how much confidence can, affect your game. Obviously, confidence is not going to be, it won't turn you into the next Quake champion, but confidence and skills and practice certainly can and will, and I have to agree. I think hearing the story about dramiS, hearing kind of his own positivity that he spun around the effort that he's put in is quite great. Of course, going up against someone who has been labeled a god killer, someone who has a few maps named after him, or a few champions that kind of have a little name tag of this player, and that's RAISY. Now, I'd love to hear from both of you, because RAISY has had so much momentum throughout all of Season 2. But I would say that Stage 3 hasn't exactly been RAISY's best stage.
No, there's definitely been players out there that have outperformed him in this stage. I mean, kind of looking at the results here, we can see the conceding the 2-1 against Avec, Kilson, Wenger, Cypher earlier on. But at the same time, I think I'd very much like to raise the talking point of, listen to the names that I just mentioned. These are all players that could get minimum top 3 at a major finals, maybe even further, maybe even winning them. There's definitely something to be said over just how unbelievably stacked EU and CIS has always been, and especially now. So RAISY being among those players is always something in its own right. Obviously, he will not see it that way. He strives for perfection always, because he was, for the longest time, a player that you'd always see in grand finals, right? And for his sake, it'd be great to see that this weekend. And he's going to be quite the, I think, boss to take on if you're in dramiS's position.
Yeah, I really do hope that we get to see RAISY playing at his best, because he has been inconsistent to say the least. This is a player who we've seen topping the EU leaderboards time and time again. In the previous stage finals, he didn't make it into the finals day, which I think is the first time that happened in who knows how long, right? And now we just saw the results of this stage. 5 wins versus 4 losses for RAISY, a player who has been #1 repeatedly. That's definitely not up to his standards. Now, he did already take down Cygip in a 2-0 fashion earlier today, so maybe he's got some momentum going into this matchup, but yeah, dramiS is not going to be easy for him to deal with at all.
Yeah, and I do, talking about RAISY, I think he is one of those players that kind of transcends when it's tournament time, and typically, puts a lot in. so much the case in the last stage, but curious to see. Someone else also pointed out, man, a 3-0 win over base, that's pretty impressive. And it's not to say that RAISY hasn't had some incredible games and matches over this stage. It's more or less the consistency where you kind of expect, RAISY's the player that's going to definitely might inch it out, but it's going to be in that 1-2 seed. It just wasn't the case. So I do think that this is going to be a very explosive matchup looking forward. And of course, that means next up is our picks and bans. Let's take a look at the maps that we'll be playing in this one and how the champions will sort out, with our maps being Molten Falls, Vale, and then finally Ruins.
Clutch taken away, which is no surprises. Something that RAISY will have to get used to, being the best clutch out there. But it's the Slash versus the Sorlag. If there is any map that you're going to see Slash on, it's going to be this one with the current map rotation, especially because it's dramiS. Vale of Nath after that, Scalebearer taken away, Death Knight versus Keel, and then Ruins, the Galena removed, but the Strog versus the Ranger. Now, there's definitely something I'd like to say about this matchup, in that there's definitely been players out there in the past that have kind of compared dramiS to almost like a American equivalent of like a Toxic. That perfect marriage of just execution and movement, all of it combined, right? Where the aim is always super impressive. Movement-based champions, dramiS is quite an absolute top caliber player of. And that can come with it sometimes a style that overwhelms and really, really does just take people either by surprise or by storm. RAISY is the kind of player that can match any style. It's one of the things about him that has been one of his strongest strengths, which is probably a phrase I shouldn't have put back-to-back, strongest strengths. But my point is that you can give him a style and he can probably match it in map 1 and kind of have that download for the rest of the series. Even though dramiS is a rather unique player, I do see RAISY being able to handle that kind of controlled chaos,
I also don't think his picks are bad for what you just described, right? dramiS is, I think, in the eyes of many, the best Slash player in all of the Americas. So good on the crouch sliders, and especially on the map like Molten Falls, that is where Slash truly shines. However, RAISY has an excellent counterpick. Sorlag, she might not be as fast on the acceleration, but she's got a lot of mobility. That maneuverability in midair helps out so much getting around the map. Plus, you've got a huge stack advantage over Slash. So this is a very clever counterpick to make sure that you can kind of keep up with the movement while still having that base stack advantage to counter dramiS's aggression.
Great points from both of you. We don't have to wait too long for this game to get underway. dramiS versus RAISY as our matches continue here for day 1. I'm going to step away, but Ketchup and Flea have fun, and I'll see you on the other side.
Gotta mention, completely unrelated, but nice guy RAISY in the admin chat. Admin's in there saying, we're playing on this server, yeah? Normally people just go yes or no. RAISY goes, hello, yes. Just has to get that nice little polite greeting in there as RAISY. Always a gentleman.
He always does that, I love it.
He does very much so. Shouts to Bourne. But now, this first map, where it's going to be that battle of movement, a matchup that I think we're quite familiar with at this point, and you quite rightly pointed out that RAISY's picks are always intelligent, not only against the champion he's up against, but the player as well. So Sorlag should give him that real edge. Whenever I watch RAISY in practices, or whether he's kind of just scrimming or whatever the case is, if he goes up against someone that's using a fast, large champion, I think I can remove the size, just a fast champion in general. If Sorlag's on the table, he tends to pick it. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why, because you can match their tempo, but at the same time, take a little bit of extra punishment, deal out that close range damage.
It is extremely difficult to outpick RAISY when it comes to the champions, because he's so intelligent going about that. I still remember Ketchup at one of the previous LAN tournaments where RAISY made it all the way to the finals day, and he just sits down in front of his opponent and they're going through the picks and the bans, and he just takes all the time that he needs, just sits there motionlessly thinking everything through, every possible combination.
I think he brings us the longest picks. I think it takes him the longest of almost anyone to come up with them because of that.
But that's just a testament to how seriously he takes it and how he goes through every possible matchup, thinks ahead about what maps are still to come, what might my opponent pick 2 maps down from here to try and counter that already. So it is extremely difficult to just outpick RAISY and get an advantage when it comes to champions alone. And of course, the fact that he's got such an enormous champion pool, including that clutch, really helps him out. But on that note, we are loading into the first map of this series, kicking it off on dramiS's point of view. dramiS versus RAISY.
Now, dramiS mentioned the confidence very recently, but is it going to be enough to handle the Godslayer? Unfortunately, before I've even finished that, less than 20 seconds in, RAISY secures his first frag as they have a head-on collision. And now RAISY, leading the charge so early on, has all the weapons in place, likely has timings on both of these items. There's pretty much no split between them, which gives RAISY a nice beginnings. And I think close enough to the heavy. He's going to be laughing here. dramiS, of the 2 weapons, items that you'd want, I think that in that situation, Mega's not ideal. Because if you're a light champion, you've got no armor, it doesn't matter how much health you have.
RAISY springs the trap. Don't think he connected, no. I don't think any of those toxic spitballs connected, but I don't think it will matter either. So patient, RAISY knows that his opponent's got nowhere to run. Either dramiS heads for the railgun, which gives him an angle, either he goes back through the teleporter, in which case RAISY's just waiting with the shotty. Absolutely no pressure, just carefully waiting out his opponent. But that's a good play from dramiS. So quick on his feet when he's playing Slash. Just beats RAISY to the item, even though he's taking the longer way around.
One would think if there's any other champion, maybe even Strog in that situation, that no one would be able to stop RAISY from just hoovering up both of those items, but dramiS having the peace of mind to think on his feet and think, right, I got to go in, I got to shut down something here. This rocket certainly makes matters worse, but if you can just stop RAISY from getting every single item, he's not going to just lock in that stack and bully you for 10 minutes. That opening rail, really strong. RAISY with a tactical denial with the light armor, just to make sure dramiS can't back up and take it a little bit later. But with 2 frags in the lead here in such a short space of time, got to be careful around those corners because dramiS is opening up those rails, and that's going to slow down RAISY significantly.
RAISY's playstyle is also just so optimized. Like, the fluidity with which he denied that small armor catch-up, he really was at like 130 points of armor, and just in passing by, doesn't even miss a beat, rocket jumps himself to get speed, just the right amount to take away the item. That's beautiful, but now dramiS is making a bit of a misplay, dropping back down. He needs to land the shots, finds one. And RAISY at 88 points of health was vulnerable, could have been railed right there. But dramiS decides to play it safely and gets out instead.
dramiS does need to be incredibly careful with this game plan he's currently undertaking. The rail's been the weapon of choice for now, and there is definitely an element of, look, it makes sense. You're going up against one of these large champions, you have to be able to chunk down that armor. But at the same time, there's a couple of instances where dramiS has got caught round a corner with the rail, probably not expecting RAISY to be so close. And even if you hit the rail, of which he has missed a couple of times, you're just taking all that free damage. I kind of do worry. I hope dramiS doesn't kind of get ahead of himself there. The trade forced out by RAISY, and RAISY definitely getting the better spawn. Not just the weapons, but armor as well. And I like that even RAISY's pushing forward after that, because he knows dramiS, there's no way he's challenging that.
I think dramiS's railgun is really what's been keeping him in this matchup so far, Ketchup. dramiS hitting 57% rail, RAISY just 12. RAISY has only landed a single railgun shot. And I think that's pretty much the main reason why dramiS is keeping this such a close game. If RAISY had been landing more of those shots and actually rivaled him in these long-distance engagements, the Maestro player probably would have been steamrolling a whole lot more.
Now he is able to secure yet another frag. It's certainly not clean. Lots of damage dealt, but there's plenty of lights to stop the bleeding just a little bit. Now with the Mega in play, RAISY has to take time to get his stack back up, and that's going to be a free pickup for dramiS. The question is, what next? As we're now sitting on the rail. You quite rightly pointed out the importance of the rail. If dramiS wants to get a little bit more ammo, he's going to have to come back this way. He did pick up a rail at the very beginning. Now RAISY gets to just back off and again put himself in position for heavy. That is a 100 out there that dramiS has to just take. Looking like RAISY's going to be able to pick up yet another one here. dramiS, there's not a lot of stuff to pick up. There's that light health, and that's kind of it.
Solid recovery by dramiS right there. Oh, but that rocket to the face is not what he was bargaining for. He has to retreat, burn even more time before he can mount any sort of comeback. And now he's just in no position to actually challenge for this next heavy. He's going to have to give it up to RAISY for free. Hope that he can land maybe a rail somewhere here. Also love how RAISY approached that. That's just complete juking right there. Preemptively going back through a teleporter, down, up again, just completely trying to throw off his opponent just to avoid those rail from dramiS. It's so optimized.
Major push from dramiS though, opening LG, finished off with a delicious little rocket. And he's able to keep himself in this fight. He is able to fight fire with fire here. Has to watch out though, because caught round in the wrong part of town. dramiS very, very weak indeed. Looking for a rail that hits the mark. Oh, if dramiS had the rail out, it'd have been very different. Caught RAISY on the jump pad. The perfect read. And just like that, the Mega is totally nullified. dramiS evens things up.
Bit of an uncharacteristic misplay by RAISY right there. Just going up the bounce pad. I don't think he was expecting dramiS to show up there after how much damage he's done. But he will put himself back in the lead after this engagement over at the heavy. And now there's a decent amount of time between the items, 10 seconds. Yeah, dramiS realized that he had to apply pressure. He doesn't want to give RAISY full control and establish just consistent rotation of the items, but in doing so, he's now 2 frags behind. Didn't really accomplish much in that previous fight.
Oh, that rail from dramiS should have been easy pickings. Unfortunately, not able to hit the shot. Going to disengage just a little bit, but in doing so, RAISY gets the heavy. And likely to be able to push in towards this inevitable Mega. dramiS early as anything for it, but that rail alone allows the pickup to come through. And we'll stop the acid just for a little bonus here. There's definitely time for dramiS to bring this one back. But RAISY, I mean, this guy's always doing the maths in his head. He's looking at the stack permanently. You can hit the shots, but if he's confident that if he hits his own, he will just outstack you all day, every day. He'll push in no matter what, and that is very scary. Oh, another rail that dramiS by all means should have connected.
Luckily for dramiS though, RAISY is still just really not landing any rails of his own. I think the Maestro player has basically given up on using the railgun for most of these fights already.
16% rail right now.
And he hasn't fired many in the past 3 minutes or something. Still only 12 rails fired, and I think that's a lot because he knows he's not connecting, so he's like going for other weapons to try and compensate, but that is just not always working out because it's dramiS who's doing most of the damage and who is now applying most of the pressure as well.
In the middle of a map, having to adapt to that, it's certainly going to be no easy feat, I'm sure. But at the same time, we look at heavy versus light. Another fight breaking out, and RAISY not really having a lot of weapons to get the job done. The reactionary rail back up the bounce pad gives dramiS a chance to equalize. He's going to have an LG, dramiS. Watch out. Don't be too aggressive.
RAISY wisely turning around right there, realizing that he didn't have any weapons to try and follow his opponent, chase him down. And now it will be RAISY who picks up the heavy. I wonder if dramiS is going to make a move for Maggie. He's got all of the weapons to work with. Looks like RAISY isn't even going to be in position, so dramiS will be picking this one up for free. I think RAISY is now just trying to play, you know, the long con catch-up. He doesn't want to force anything out just yet. He could have made a move for Mega. I think he knew the timing as well, but instead he wants to just get good stack going, get a better positioning. Will he find it though? dramiS misses again, a crucial rail. This has been, I think, a frustrating map for both of these players catch-up with some of these shots that they've been missing.
Mega getting picked up by dramiS, so both players having perfect timing on it, and as we are inevitably at this point going to reach a sudden death situation with just a minute on the clock, I think both players being a little bit more careful signifies that, look, we're not looking to go over aggressive. If we can win by 1 frag now, we'll definitely take it. The aggressive rocket jump, and RAISY connects. dramiS, he was even ready for it. He hit the rocket, but he just didn't have the stack to deal with what RAISY was going to put forward on top of that. Now he takes up one of the lights. dramiS cannot miss a shot here. Oh no, forced retreat, but the acid! My man's melting! Oh, and that's going to be the map.
It was a close one. It really was. I love Ketchup, the moment you said neither player is going to be too aggressive, RAISY was just like, rocket jump up to heavy, let's go!
That's
And
what you
just
think!
Absolutely took the fight to dramiS, and indeed, dramiS landed a very nice defensive rocket, but just didn't have the stack to do much more, because RAISY landed one that is just as much damage of his own, and dramiS is going to call the GG there, and that is already putting RAISY up on match point.
I mean, it goes to show how much confidence. I just talked about how RAISY's always got that stack in mind, and he'll be happy to take loads of damage, because if he's confident he can kill you quick enough, it doesn't really matter. And let's talk about that final play, the rocket jump up there. To rocket jump up there, he had to do a decent amount of self-damage anyway. He took a direct and still got the frag afterwards, kept the pressure on after. Yeah, there was a sign of life after that from dramiS, right near Mega, but it was one of those near impossible scenarios, because you had to hit every single shot while at the same time dodging the acid, dodging whatever RAISY's throwing out around that doorway, and understandably wasn't quite able to finish it. That was, for dramiS, that was a moment you have to collect yourself, and I think that's why in the last 30 seconds or so, he just stopped moving. He knew that mathematically he couldn't win, so that was a take your hands off the mouse and keyboard, have a think, and calm yourself down. Because with this being a best of 3, folks, there's not a lot of time to recover from this. We're jumping straight into the next map, and dramiS has got to be mentally refreshed after how that map finished.
It's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out. It will be Vale of Nath. dramiS is running Keel this time around, and RAISY is going to counter that by using the Death Knight. That means that dramiS this time around has the stack advantage, something he didn't in the previous map. I'm not too sure going into this one. Both of these champions have a tremendous damage potential, right? Just remember how well the Hang used Keel himself on Ruins against Cooler earlier. That was so much pineapple damage. If dramiS can level or hit that same level of intensity, he's not in a bad spot at all. On the other hand, little curious about how he's going into this one mentally, you know, because Slash, I think everyone will agree, is his signature champion, and to lose with Slash on her best map, the one that dramiS himself picked as well, to a lot of players that might be a pretty serious mental hit.
It's why the importance of the various styles and getting good at other maps comes forward. There's not a lot of players out there these days, in my opinion, that you can associate with just one champion or just one map. I think versatility is so important at this level of play that if you can play the board, then there is going to be no strongest map or weakest map, because you can play everything. Yeah. Now, that's not to say that dramiS isn't one of those players. I think it's just very apparent that when we see Slash and Molten Falls, you tend to go, oh, okay, dramiS should win that one. So when he doesn't, bit of a mental hit perhaps for him and the fans, because you're like, oh, you're just so used to seeing him win there, because it's just got all the ingredients that dramiS does well in. The movement, the aim, the pressure you can put on, absolutely. But no time like the present. It's Vale of Nath for our next map, and what could be final map between these two if dramiS isn't quite able to get this. The Death Knight versus the Keel. Stack advantage going to be in reverse this time. But we have to focus on the fact that RAISY, he wasn't really having too much of a happy rail day, and that was what was keeping him held back there. The heavy versus light difference in stack becomes very prominent if the rail's hitting, and if it's not so much. At least now he's got to deal with the Keel, who's a lot easier to hit.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. To me, that is the biggest question mark going into this matchup. What is RAISY's rail going to be like? Is he still going to be stuck on that abysmal 17%? I mean, Slash is difficult to hit, but should be doing a little more than that. Now he's gonna kick it off with a nice little burst of LG. dramiS just stuck in the corner. Of course, Keel is a pretty big hitbox, and RAISY is going to thrive with a target that size. But now he might be in trouble, because let's not forget rather, Mega was delayed significantly, and RAISY really needs to be landing these shots to keep his opponent at bay, and that is exactly what he does. If he had missed that rail, it would be a tight game now.
Significant hesitation from RAISY near Mega Spawn as well. He had the chance for a vertical rail, but he knows that even if I land the shot, the downtime would be punishing, and that would likely secure the 1-1 situation. These little moments that RAISY, it's micromanagement forever and always. That's the name of Quake, but RAISY does it to such a level that you're hard-pressed to find him making a mistake. It's why in moments like Molten, where he went straight up that bounce pad near Mega, I think you and I were both a bit surprised by that, because that's not the kind of thing that RAISY does. However, he's already hitting significantly more rails than he was before. Currently working on 80%, 4 out of 5, not too shabby.
I was about to say, we're 1 minute into this map, and RAISY's already done more damage with the railgun now than he did on the entirety of Molten Falls. So that is promising if you're a RAISY fan. But dramiS is slapping right back, and now RAISY stuck in the little cubby of death. Can he find a way out? He won't be able to. Bit of a mistake in looping back around for that small armor. It looked tasty, but dramiS's aggression, something you always have to consider.
Now, we don't see a lot of the starting shotgun today, but in this matchup you definitely will. RAISY with that starting shotgun means that, look, as long as you've got a flame strike and you're close range and your opponent is weak, that is enough to either equalize, take the lead, whatever it is. And Keel is not going to like that. Those larger targets, so much more vulnerable to the spread of the shotgun, at least of all the super shotgun, which is a different matter in itself. RAISY has all the weapons he needs. He's in perfect position for both of these items, but if he can get opening damage to dramiS to really put that pressure on, can he deny the heavy? Or maybe even stop it from being taken at all? No, he can't! He drops down, but he gets it anyway! dramiS is going to go down here as RAISY's in position to take Mega. And that was the best time to secure a frag. Both full control and +1. We'll take those.
That was mighty clean indeed. Now there's a sizable amount of time left before the next major item spawns, so whoever manages to do most of the damage now could potentially just jump right in and continue the rotation that RAISY started. It looks like he is just going to stick to his own items. dramiS will drop just before heavy spawns, and that is nice for RAISY. So patient there as well. I love how RAISY didn't immediately go for Mega catch-up. Instead, he walked off of it, knowing that he could take a bit more before, you know, getting the maximum amount of healing out of it. So he stepped to the right, went for a rail. When he missed and took damage in return, only then did he pick up the Mega. These little optimizations are just so prevalent in RAISY's playstyle, and it's beautiful to watch.
It's the confidence in your opponent's aim as well. I know that sounds a bit bizarre, but if it's near an item, you kind of know that the smart thing for them to do is to aim it on the item, right? That's your highest chance of getting max damage. Oh my lord, the LG is tasty indeed. RAISY picks up yet another frag. I was going to talk something about minimizing the damage earlier on, but that was already 2 frags ago, so totally irrelevant now. But he has a comfortable little lead to work with, and there's plenty more of this map to go. I would be normally talking about dramiS making a comeback with that time, but with how things are going, it's more likely going to be time for RAISY to extend things even further. He's got all the weapons again, keeping the timing in his head, as he always does. He knows he's hit that rail, so the likelihood of dramiS going towards Mega straight away, very obvious.
Both of these players are hitting tremendously hard with the lightning gun, 50% accuracy for each of them. So dramiS himself is keeping up with RAISY's pace.
Oh!
Yeah. RAISY can't quite get enough damage to connect. That gives dramiS an opportunity to get the frag just before heavy spawns as well. RAISY's pace.
Oh!
Yeah. RAISY can't quite get enough damage to connect in that engagement. And that gives dramiS an opportunity to get the frag just before heavy spawns as well. Really solid timing for the American, who now has a clear pathway onto Mega 2, which he isn't even going for straight away. dramiS is also being so mindful of his opponent position. He was hoping that RAISY would make a move on that small armor next to Rockets and try to catch him off there, knowing that RAISY doesn't yet have all the weapons after respawning.
Ooh,
nice!
He takes a flame strike, but not before he returns a rail. A couple more like that, and he's in business. RAISY makes the perfect call out on the heavy, though. You want to run in there and sneakily take it. The problem with Vale of Nath, you want to take the heavy, you got to jump. You jump, the LG just says, no, sir. No heavy for you. And RAISY, even that one frag. So much more work now on the side of dramiS. Even with that rail landing, it doesn't matter. And he even hits the pineapple. And it still doesn't take him out. RAISY gets the frag, brings that stack back up. Timing on the Mega as well. I assume dramiS has timing on it too. He must have seen it after getting fragged. Oh, you gotta watch out taking those fights. If someone's hitting the LG and you're missing the rails, that's only gonna end one way.
We're now entering the danger zone. RAISY is doing better when it comes to items. RAISY is out-damaging his opponent, has got the better rotation, the timing is on point in his favor too. This is the moment where dramiS has to put a stop to that. Now luckily for him, he does manage to secure the mega health. This might be the start of something, but RAISY is approaching this perfectly, just backing off, with newfound confidence in that Fizz. Just playing the angles, that's what he's doing. That's how RAISY is going to play these final minutes.
I don't know if the people at home on the spectator felt that, but the instant flame strike into Rocket, it may have missed, but the impact, God, it hit so hard. But it's fortunate for dramiS that didn't quite hit its mark. But there's so many hourglasses that RAISY already has it back. It's not just the fact that this map is close quarters and combat heavy, but the hourglasses that exist too. If you control those, you have access to those game-changing abilities so much faster. And let's even keep in mind that dramiS, he's using Keel. Likelihood is you're always able to pick up an hourglass because you're using grenades all the time. Yet somehow RAISY is the one that's in control of most of them. Looking to get some extra damage, but dramiS cannot push too hard forward. Problem is now is that he's running out of time. 71 damage dished out on the tri-bolt, and he's stuck in that horrible no man's land, and he will push through the teleporter now. That's dramiS down, not even able to deny the heavy. That was going to be the last bonus effort. And unfortunately for him, the control continues. RAISY with both of these items, and now the time to do it. Big juggles. He goes down again.
This is the make it or break it for dramiS. 2 minutes left. Oh no, the rail won't connect. He needed that shot. Because now RAISY will be able to secure all of these resources on the lower half of the map. Actually, he won't. dramiS is the one who pushes in, but in doing so, dramiS is actually completely giving up the mega. That was
and not only that, but the flame strike put you in a position where you're stuck. You can't move out because the flame strike blocks the doorway. Fleet, I don't want to be the one to speak the obvious, but I think this might be a wrap.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there, Ketchup. I think even RAISY was surprised. RAISY, I'm sure, figured that dramiS was just going to go, you know, for mega and heavy, and that RAISY would play defense at the lower side of the map. But then all of a sudden, dramiS himself showed up for that bottom green armor, and RAISY, just surprised, manages to turn it around, get a better position, cut his opponent off from the mega and heavy side of the map, and then, like you mentioned yourself, the flame strike just helped put the final nail into that coffin. And I think that RAISY is going to continue his trajectory of eviscerating his American opponents, first taking down Cygib 2-0, and it looks like dramiS is about to meet the same fate. RAISY is looking good. He might not have gotten the best seeding going into this tournament. We talked about it before this series started, that he's been a bit lackluster, right? 5 wins, 4 losses, not the kind of performance you'd expect from someone with his repertoire of games, but RAISY is putting on a very good show in these first few games.
The one thing that would make this more of a RAISY map is if he got the gauntlet.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that is left to go. But as the GGs come through, it will not have its opportunity. He's got a gauntlet now, but it don't count. The GGs will roll through as dramiS obviously accepts defeat here. But what a series it was for RAISY. Flea. I feel bad for dramiS in that final map because I do feel like he kind of started to get, not necessarily autopilot, but there were a couple of frags that just, they felt like frustration. There were a couple of moments where it just seemed like he was piling on forward. And RAISY's always prepared to match that. It's kind of like what I said at the very beginning before we even started the first map, that if you have a style, no matter how passive or aggressive it might be, you show that to RAISY and he's able to capitalize and adapt to it instantly within the same map. And that's not something everyone can do, and it's difficult to do, absolutely. But RAISY being so good at it is impressive in its own right, and able to comfortably take that. He had to pull off that last moment, that big decision in Molten, and then Vale was much more of a one-sided ordeal.
I think definitely RAISY stepping up his aim as well with the railgun in particular, right? Map 1, the damage output was remarkably similar, but now map 2, I think RAISY did what, over 1,000 points of damage over his opponent. We're going to see the stats in a moment, no doubt, but it was something alongside that. So RAISY definitely looking a lot more confident in the second map, finally landing his rails. There were some signs of brilliance from dramiS here and there, but just overall he wasn't able to rival RAISY's playstyle. RAISY played a very meticulous game, did most of the damage when it mattered the most, and then when dramiS did actually secure something, RAISY was so quick at always putting him right back down. I pointed this out, RAISY with the railgun, completely happy to just give up an item, maybe even two, as long as he's in a position where he can punish it and do damage, and then wait for the opportunity to slip right in and reassert control. So beautiful plays from RAISY, solid attempt by dramiS. He's obviously still in the tournament, he's just dropping down to the lower bracket, but RAISY continues and he's looking good.
About time we bring back in DJ Wheat. Mate, what do you think about that?
I mean, I agree with just about everything you said. RAISY's looking good, and although that second map was, you know, quite literally in the favor of RAISY, dramiS still looked pretty good. I was even kind of watching some of the comments in chat, and several people saying, "Hey, I'm pretty impressed. This is someone I'm going to keep watching." I think that's kind of a key takeaway. On the other hand, we talked a little bit before the matchup about RAISY showing up in tournament form, and he looked pretty good. I would not want to be facing him in the next round at all. And although that means dramiS is going to be battling it out in the lower bracket, RAISY's sort of chances at a run here are still looking pretty good.
I mean, he keeps playing like that, then he's in business. And I'd like nothing more than for RAISY to return to form. There's a constant tale of redemption, and he's after it permanently.
RAISY is going to be facing either Kilson or Waz in the next round. Haven't yet decided who that is going to be, but yeah, that's a scary prospect for either one of these players.
Yeah, exactly. And we still have several more matches coming up here too, so we'll see how the rest of the bracket's going to be shaken out, both in the upper and the lower. Coming up next after our break is going to be Aavik versus Dehang. And I mean, we already saw Dehang perform once. Aavik has certainly been on a tear here in the Stage 3 regular season. Can he bring it to the tournament against the player who's already shown it that he's here to play? We're going to find out. So thanks for joining us. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more Quake coming at you.